Welcome to our Spotlight video series where we talk about cutting-edge employment law issues in the news. I'm Tom Spiggle, founder of the Spiggle Law Firm. We help people who've been fired or afraid that they might be. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Samantha Vanterpool Rucker, who is a fantastic attorney in our office. And today we're going to be talking, I believe, about the Virginia Supreme Court and a case that they just ruled on.
Yeah, Tom, I'm actually fascinated by this case. This is a case of where we have issues of whether or not to use a pronoun versus religious freedoms. And this is a case in Virginia. It's West Point, Virginia. It's a few miles away from Northern Virginia. And in this case, we had a student who recently had gender transition from female to male, also had a name change, but the high school teacher in this case refused to recognize his pronouns. But the teacher did say that he would use the student's first name just to avoid any issues as to discrimination. In fact, he referred to all the students by their first name, but this one student, he refused to use the pronouns because he said that it sort of conflicted with his religious beliefs. And because of that, he sort of got in trouble with the school system and he was terminated. And so he filed a lawsuit against the school system, against the school board for $1 million, saying that he was discriminated against. His freedom of speech rights were infringed upon. It went to the circuit court. The circuit court sort of agreed with the school system and tossed the case, saying there was discrimination that occurred and there wasn't a basis to move forward with trial. And that teacher, he appealed to the Virginia Supreme Court. The Virginia Supreme Court said that our Constitution sort of guarantees us diversity of thought, diversity of opinion, diversity of exercising your religion. And that court has mandated that the case be sent back to circuit court and be tried. I'm fascinated to see where this goes because the organization that sort of piggybacked on this lawsuit aided the plaintiff, the teacher, with filing this lawsuit, and also has 3 cases in other states. I think this case is a case to watch that will eventually make its way to the United States Supreme Court on this issue. What takes prevalence, your religion or your responsibility to use someone's pronouns? We'll see what the courts decide.
Yeah, it's a fascinating issue. And was this under the Virginia Human Rights Act? What was the Title VII? What was
Title
the
VII? Title VII case. It was a Title VII issue.
Case.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be very interesting because the EEOC just issued some draft regs. Our last spotlight was with Louise, and we talked about this, where they talked about this issue. And I think the EEOC is taking the position that, using correct pronouns is an element of gender identity and can be, an issue, can be a basis for a Title VII claim. So it looks like the EEOC is taking that position and maybe issuing some, issuing some cause findings. But you're right. I think this is going to be an issue that's going to be litigated. And I think it's important too to point out, that the free speech issues here come up because he's a public employee. If he were working for Walmart, free speech issues would not arise here. But I agree, this is going to be a hot button issue for a while.
And I'm looking forward to see what the court does with this. The EEOC have sort of spoken in on the issue. I'm just curious to see what our highest courts do with this. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think this probably is eventually headed to the Supreme Court. I guess they will so they've kicked it back to the trial court level to have some preliminary fact finding. They'll go ahead and have a trial on the matter.
Yeah, to have a full-fledged trial on the matter to determine, I guess we'll have witnesses, et cetera. And I think it's more so a legal issue that will have to be determined at the trial court level. All the facts and witnesses are important. Ultimately, I think it's a legal issue.
Yeah. Well, and I guess one of the things they'll be trying to tease out is whether this is a sincerely held religious belief, which could require some factual findings, because you can't just say, hey, I had this, just because you don't want to use somebody's pronoun, just claim a religious conflict with your rights to express your religion when you don't really have a sincerely held belief in that religion. So I guess that will be some of it. And it's interesting that the school system took the position that, it's because it wasn't as if, as I understand it at least, this teacher was like, hey, I'm not going to use your pronouns, students. He said, I'm not using anybody's pronouns, like just so we can all be on an even playing field. I'm not using it for anybody in this classroom. I'm just using first names. And the school system said, not good enough.
Yeah, there's also a political angle to it because, of course, the prior governor had instituted policies where he said it was mandatory that you actually recognize the pronouns and use the pronouns. And of course, the current administration has taken a different position. So we have an intersection of law, religion, and politics. It's a fascinating case.
Yeah, it's a good point too, because right, I mean, Glenn Youngkin really made a kind of made his political chops, or he really kind of made that one of his cornerstone issues of his campaigns, kind of overlapping with COVID issues in schools, with what he calls parental rights in schools, and I think this will just be another piece of that now. So you're right; it's an intersection of a lot of very important and hot button issues that we've got going on. So. Thank you for bringing up. What's the name of the case? Do you have it with you by any chance?
I do have the plaintiff. His name is Peter Vlaming, and the school system is the West Point School District County, I believe. But we can look it up by the plaintiff's name again. It's Peter Vlaming, Vlaming. Okay,
great. Well, Samantha, thanks so much for bringing this one to our attention. It's going to be one to watch. And in the meantime, I'll let you get back to the next thing on your desk.
Okay, thank you, Tom.